This is not the video you are looking for. It's not the video that I wanted to make, but if you're interested in knowing why the edge of the flatbed looks like this and what we're going to do about it and what we had hoped to do about it, then this might be the video for you. There's no two ways about it. This is not the video I wanted to make. This is not the video that I had hoped to make. Let's backtrack a little bit and I'll explain what's happened, and hopefully this will help you decide what kind of box you want on your overland camper and what your options are. I apologize if this gets a little bit waffly and irrational, but there are so many things going on in my head now, so I'm going to try to do my best. Apologies if I fail. Exactly 1 week ago I started chopping up the frame here. I had an idea in my head and it was going quite well. But then my head started running away with myself and my thoughts and my ideas. And after that day, I've been pondering about other solutions. But before we get into what I pondered, let's have a quick chat about the actual options that most people go with and what we are going to do in relation to that. The most financially effective way of getting a habitat onto a flatbed Unimog X-Army truck or any other truck with a flatbed is a so-called SIP box. SIP stands for Structural Insulated Panels. That's a sandwich construction with foam in the middle and then 2 layers on each side of different material. The different materials, usually GRP, glass, fiber reinforced plastic, or plywood or metal, typically aluminum. This is a structure that is very strong in most cases, and it is also very light. You can have a company cut out your panels for you and you only have to glue them together, and then you have a box that you stick on the existing frame. When it comes to the weight, the SIP box can be very light, and by very light I mean 420 to 450 kilos. Budget wise, the SIP box makes a lot of sense. I have heard of a box, a flat pack delivered from the manufacturer or the maker, the fabricator, to the place where they would be building the car, the truck, is under 4,000 euros. That's for a big full-size box, and even with a door, right? 4,000, that's pretty good. If you have your Unimog flatbed, you can basically just plonk it on there and attach it, and then you put windows in, and you have doors and hatches and stuff like that, and you can start decorating your house in there. Very cost and time effective. When we were asking for quotes about these kind of boxes, we got a quote for £12,000, and that was the box assembled. No labor other than that, as far as I believe, as I remember. I have also seen another company referring to one of these boxes for just under $40,000 US. That includes doors and hatches and window apertures, but no windows. So as you can see, there is a wide scope of cost here. One end flat packed, delivered to you, you assemble it, and then the other end is a fully made box that you basically just plop windows into. This is the Unimog 4-point torsion-free subframe flatbed that comes with the Army trucks. The idea with this one is that there's a swiveling point there, a swiveling point there, and a pivoting point there, 2 pivoting points there. That means that the frame can flex individually underneath here, and suspension does its thing, but this whole structure stays rigid and it doesn't bend or flex in an unwanted way. However, as this structure is built for loading stuff on top of here, you can imagine the army lifting up a pallet of howitzer grenades or something like that on here. It is not therefore very structurally effective in the corners. For example, you can probably see how much ironwork there is in the center, whereas you can see how little ironwork there is in the corners. This also applies for the rear. This is it, nothing here. I can get my hand almost around that one. What this means is the original flatbed on the Unimog Army trucks is fairly suitable for a habitat. Now if you look at how a habitat box is built and where the weight is, there's very little weight in the middle. That's where you usually stand. So imagine that that area there has to carry, say, 4 people at a time where you are standing there, whereas this one is designed to carry a pallet of ammunition or something like that, some other heavy equipment. Whereas a habitation box carries a lot of its weight on the walls, i.e. the corners and the outside. You hang cabinets and things like that on the side, but nothing in the center. This means that this frame is pretty good. It is overbuilt in certain areas and underbuilt in certain other areas, but generally it is overbuilt. So you have no problem of putting a box on this one. The only thing is that you are carrying a little bit extra weight, kind of like me. Another issue with the standard box is that it is unnecessarily high. There is dedicated subframes that you can buy that are both lighter and lower than this one. The aim of them, apart from reducing weight is always bad, ask Colin Chapman about that, is also that you get a lower center of gravity, you get a lower entry to the box, and everything is much nicer. Lower, lighter is good. A purpose-built habitation box frame is about 70 millimeters lower and can save you 126 kilos. This is from a reputable seller. 70 millimeters is more than the height of this black bar here. Whilst 70 millimeters doesn't sound that very much, everything that makes it lower is a good thing. I wanted to put the 126 kilos into perspective. That's 126 liters of water. That's more than 130 liters of diesel. For example, if you just simply change the subframe and you put that same weight in diesel, you would double the range of this truck as it stands. The benefits of a lower box are many. First of all, the entry to the habitat is lower. That means that you might get away with one less step on the outside, and therefore you need less space on the side of the truck to get in and out. That's a good thing. Another thing is that up there is the roof of the truck, and then the camper sticks out of that. When you are traversing narrow streets in old towns or forests or canyons with sticky overhangs and stuff like that, maybe old bridges and things like that, then you want a lower box. The lower the box is, the more places you can go. Then we have the weight distribution. This truck is already tall and it is no Formula 1 car. So handling is always better when the weight is lower. And as an off-road vehicle, we tend to go on places where there are ruts and there are uneven surfaces, potholes and things like that, and that means that the truck will be oscillating from side to side, lurching over those things. The more weight the truck has to fight, the more wear and tear you're going to put on it. So, lower, better. Lighter, better. And now you're probably thinking, okay, so where's your box then? Why aren't you doing that? What's going on? Why did you cut those things up there and all of that lark? Well, there is one problem with the boxes that we don't like. And that is that none of the manufacturers that we have been in touch with will guarantee a heavy load on the back. Now, before you calm down, before you start. Yes, I know, putting a load on the back of the truck high up, far behind the axle, is a really bad place to put weight from a weight distribution point. However, it is often the only point where you can put some weight on the outside of the box. Yes, you can put it on the front too. I'm aware of that. I don't want to do that. In an ideal world, we would bring our motorbikes with us. But these bikes are probably up closer to 250 kilos each. So that would be 500 kilos on the back of a 7,500 kilo truck. That's not going to work. But we would like to bring maybe some lighter motorbikes, maybe half the weight, maybe even less than that. So we would like to, at some point at least during our travels, bring 2 small motorbikes with us. In other times when we don't bring our motorbikes with us, we just be lighter. Or we might want to bring some other sort of equipment with us. We might want to bring another spare tire. We might want to bring extra fuel or water strapped to the back of the truck. We might want to bring some kayaks, surfboards, whatever we can think of. Basically, we would like to designate the rear of the truck as an adaptable luggage platform. But no manufacturer of zip style boxes allows for that kind of weight there. If we can build it to carry about 500 kilos, that would be great. 500 kilos on the back there is not a good idea, but that's kind of the weight that I would hope it could carry if needed. Another issue with the zip boxes is that they are all flat bottomed. Oh, stop it. What that means is that they have one flat floor. On a truck of this height, we would like to recess the first or maybe the 2 first steps on the inside of the truck. We have designated this area for that. The battery box is still in the way, another project, another video. But with a flat bottom you can't do that. And the benefits of doing that is that we need fewer steps on the outside, but also we have a lower area here which can be used for other things, which we'll probably get to in another video. So with the issue of not being able to put weight on the back and not easily being able to have a recessed step, we have opted to not go with a zip box. Instead of a zip box, we will go for a steel skeleton which will be clad on the outside with GRP, then it will be insulated with foam spray, and then it will be clad on the inside with whatever is needed. However, those 2 things with the subframe kind of got stuck in my mind. This is why the plywood has gone, and this is why I started taking these off. And then my mind started wandering and racing ahead, and this is where it got really complicated. The aisle that we're going to make will be entry here, and then in the center up to the bed there will be, that's where we're going to walk. However, you do not need standing height anywhere else in the truck except where you're going to walk. So if I were to recess this area only, then we could lower the truck and get that lower center of gravity, at least in some parts. This unfortunately would require major modifications to the center here. These uprights here are what is holding the structure very firmly onto the frame. These do not flex. They flex forward and backwards in that way, but they do not flex sideways or up and down or even tilting sideways. I believe these are a Mercedes part that you can buy, and most boxes that are built on top of a Unimog uses these parts. So if you're building a fire truck box on here, or a tool truck or something like that, then this is what you use, and then you use the cross members, and then you build this system onto it. The flatbed center has got this oval tube in it. That's where you store the tow bar normally, and then it bends up a little bit at the front there. That's exactly where we'd like to walk. So I had in my head that I could shave things off and basically make a bucket, a tub in there, and then turn the tub sideways here and marry those two together and then strengthen it up where needed. Under here is a joining bar, flat piece of metal that joins the front plate with the rear plate, and then comes the triangulated barred outrigger thing here, and then the tube. If we were to go to the bottom of this tube here, we could achieve a lowering of 19 centimeters in the middle. That starts to become a significant number already. However, most of this would be obsolete. It would also be in the way too heavy where it shouldn't be, and way too weak where it needs to be stronger. So last week my head was spent trying to figure this out. Where would I need strengthening? Where would I need to remove things? And what would I need to remove? And we quickly came to the conclusion that the best way is pretty much to start over. I also don't have any heavy lifting equipment here, so I can't just build stuff on the side and put things here. I also don't have a big enough and flat enough floor to build this on and then lift it and take it out here. So everything would have to be built either in sections or on the truck. One of the things therefore I thought of is that if we reverse the truck, lift up the flatbed, take the front bolt out, rear bolt out, and then take these bolts out here that hold that, which would have left us with the uprighty sticks there and nothing else. Then I could have used these front brackets and the rear brackets, and then I could have used box section to remake the rear outrigger, and then made a complicated front one, and then I could have built a box that was strong enough, that would be a tub that goes in here, and then I would have built structural mud guards over there, again out of thickish steel plate, and then I would have made this part here with the closer to us where we are now standing, and made the aisle slash hallway and entrance also out of thick steel sheet metal and box section, and got that all done. Then I could have used other outriggers and stuff to make the perimeter. Keep in mind that my intention has always been to build the walls as structural members, not just uprights. They are going to be triangulated and they can carry loads in other places than just straight down. So with that in mind, we were faced with a lot of thinking and decision making. One of the questions that we needed to answer was, would a 19-ish centimeter lower cab have a significance in usability, i.e. bridges, overhang, forests and things like that? And we came to the conclusion that yes, but no but. Usually you can either avoid going there or take a detour. So that one ended up being a bit of a compromise. The second question we needed an answer to was if the weight was circa 19 centimeters lower, would it actually make a difference in the handling of the truck? And for this I enlisted our resident engineer, Kaz. So I'm going to let her talk about that because I don't really understand how the maths works.
We wanted to try and quantify the effects of recessing the floor and whether or not the increased build complexity was actually going to be worth it. Recessing the floor has a number of positive points. It lowers the overall vehicle centre of gravity and reduces the height of the camper, both of which are really desirable points. But it also has the effect of reducing wear and tear of the suspension components and overall truck, and improving vehicle ride quality and general comfort. And it's this that we wanted to try and quantify and see whether it was worth it. So, well, why is that? Well, you can imagine that the higher the vehicle, the higher the mass up front, the more that the vehicle is going to have to work and the suspension components are going to have to work to compensate for that. So we've assumed a mass for this of 1,000 kilos, and that comprises the solar panels, roof itself, roof vents, roof hatches, anything up high basically. And we've assumed a side-to-side lean angle of 15 degrees. And that's not extreme off-roading, of course, that's just general bumping along a gravel track or something. And we've assumed that's going to be going at a frequency of approximately 1 hertz. So by knowing the overall height of the camper that we're aiming for, and then the reduced height of the camper of 20 centimetres lower, we can work out what that lateral displacement is, or the lateral movement of the roof is, in both the high vehicle and for the low vehicle. And based on that, we can also, and knowing the frequency and the lean angle, we can work out how much energy is going to be used, or how much effort there is to move the roof through that displacement. A lot of head scratching and remembering the maths that I haven't done for far too long. I worked out that by recessing the floor 20 centimetres, it had the same effect of reducing the overall weight up top of around about 70 kilos. So less than 1% reduction in roof load by reducing the floor by 20 centimetres. So it was a lot of extra effort for not much gain.
And with that in mind, we came to the conclusion that it was simply not worth it. And I am pretty pleased because it probably saves us months, and it also eliminates the uncertainty of whether we've built it strong enough or not. This is overbuilt, we can live with it. It should be way adequate for what we want to do. However, being who we are, we can't leave it alone anyway. So here comes the current plan, and I hope that it will stay the same at least till we have published this video. Everything that is not needed will go. That includes the sides, but basically this is what has been on top of here. This is really heavy and it is an awkward shape that is not needed. Therefore, the plan is to replace the perimeter with a box section steel that will go all the way around the sides, and we will obviously still retain our plan of having a recessed door. We will try to use as much of this space as possible. That's why we made it available, so we're going to use it. We will also probably try to recess this area as much as possible so that we will gain as much space in the garage as we can. We're going to extend it with about 40 centimeters, which is well within the legal limits and hopefully aesthetically pleasing still. We will try to retain the 45-degree departure angle, and we are going to try to mount the spare wheel here. And as you probably figured, this is an organic engineering channel, and the other synonym for that is fabric cobbling. which means that I'm now going to try to figure out how we can fabricable this into something that works for us. It is basically going to be add one stick and see if it fits there and how it looks, and if it does, then add more sticks, and hopefully at the end of the time we will have a functioning perimeter and a skeleton. But I think all of that is for another episode, and if you made it this far, well done. Hopefully you have learned a little bit of why we are doing what we're doing and what options you have. Remember that not everybody's requirements are the same, not everybody's time frames the same, or budget's the same, or something like that. We think this is going to work for us, and it probably will not work for anyone else. However, it would be really nice if you joined us for this weird journey.